Unbelievable. Thank you. You guys look great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Tanisha Bochwe, and thank you for your leadership. Thank you to your speaker today, Shonda Smith-Baker. And thank you to all of these incredible graduates and the proud families and friends that are up there in the rafters cheering them on. So I love the Humphrey Institute. I love it in part because the Humphrey Institute, the actual physical building, right when it opened, is where I had my wedding reception. True story. I know for those of you who maybe go to see lectures in that atrium or, you study there, you don't see it as a romantic place, but it was for us. We had pictures, we had dances, we had balloons everywhere. I had my first dance with my husband. So that's what I remember from the Humphrey Institute. And the other thing I remember is, of course, this incredible faculty and staff, because your success is their success. The same with your families. And then, of course, the graduating class. And this class is actually super meaningful to me for two reasons. Two of your students in the class work with me. The first is Madeline Coles, right out here. There she is. Madeline has worked with me for how long? 13 years, lucky 13, okay. We've been through a lot. Madeline was actually with me on January 6th. She was with our other policy staffer because I was in charge of counting the ballots. She was in the war room and she got stuck in a closet for 4 or 5 hours when all of the insurrectionists were, and all they had were utensils in their hands. So that is not a happy memory, but Madeline was courageous and brave through the whole thing. And then, next up, right there in the front row, Ruby DeBellis. Ruby, there we go, yes. So Ruby started working with our office in a very funny way. I did the commencement speech, right, at Morris, is that right? And she was the student speaker. And she did a really great job, and I spoke after her. And I got to the podium and I said, Ruby, you're just so good, I hope you'll come work for me. And she did. That is the story, so we're excited to have Ruby, and I wasn't surprised to learn she was this class's student speaker, so very cool. So I'm excited to be here because of them, and also just the degree you're getting right now. It couldn't be a more important time to get a public affairs degree at a top 10, yes, top 10 public affairs school in the nation. It's also where, thank you, yes, where so many incredible alums get the skills they need. I'm thinking of Sarah States, a friend of mine who led Planned Parenthood North Central States for more than 2 decades. Anita Patel, Vice President of Grant Making at the Bush Foundation, and the super cool mayor, St. Paul Mayor Melvin Carter. All, of course, graduates of these programs. So that is, I guess that's something to look forward to. You are graduating at a time, all of you, when we have seen fractures in our healthcare system, our infrastructure, our democracy. From challenges with climate change to public safety, to immigration reform, to education, to civil rights, to protecting our most fundamental freedoms. It feels like everything is on the line right now. But seriously, all of you give me hope. You give me hope because you actually are getting a degree in things we need right now. We need people that think this way, that want to solve problems instead of just make problems. I work with a lot of those people. We want to have people that work to pursue the common good all of the time. I see that in my own life. I wouldn't be here without the power of education. My husband actually got a degree at the University of Minnesota. My dad started out with a 2-year degree at Ely, what was called Ely Junior College, then Vermilion, and then finished up here at the University of Minnesota with a journalism degree. My mom taught second grade until she was 70 years old after going to Milwaukee's Teachers College. And so when I stand here before you today, it is as a granddaughter of an iron ore miner. My grandpa, who worked his whole life underground in the mine, never got to graduate in high school, just saved money in a coffee can so he could send my dad to that 2-year school and finish up at the University of Minnesota. So I stand here as a granddaughter of an iron ore miner who didn't get to finish high school, the daughter of a teacher who is so proud of her work, the daughter of a newspaper man with a U of M degree, and the first woman elected to the U.S. Senate from the state of Minnesota. That is the power of the education. It truly is. And so when people say to you, this class, well, now you're going out in the real world, doesn't really work. Since you're in the real world, so many of you have been balancing work with your degree, families with your degree. You've been through, many of you, this time where we were just going through the pandemic, so many of you having to balance the laptop on one knee and a child on the other, learning to use the mute button better than your professors, and certainly a lot better than United States senators. And so I just want to end with this because I brought this up with Madeline. My last few years in the Senate has been defined by January 6th because Senator Blunt, Republican senator who retired recently, he and I were in charge of that electoral count. We were the ones that led the procession, kind of like your processions, of senators in the morning. It was this happy ceremonial pomp and circumstances with the mahogany boxes and the pages carrying them to the House. And then the objection started, and then the insurrection came, and then we were sent away to another room, and 14 hours later, with the Capitol, this citadel of our democracy, desecrated, it was just 4 in the morning, and it was Roy Blunt, me, and Vice President Pence, and those same 3 pairs of young women with the mahogany boxes containing the electoral ballots up to Wyoming, which fortunately one of the pages, one of the parliamentarians had the presence of mind to say, we better get these out of the Senate chamber because they're going to get burned or taken. And we made that walk to the House of Representatives over broken glass and spray-painted pillars filled with vulgarities. And we said that day that democracy would prevail, and it did. And so with this degree, I'm asking you to finish that walk for me, to carry on that torch. You have met at this school students with different ideological views and have been able to have debates and real debates. You've been able to talk about different ideas. You have had these moments where you thought, I'm not going to look down at my phone. I'm going to look next door to my neighbor. I'm going to learn something new. I'm going to respectfully listen. We need more of that in our democracy right now, in a big, big way. And in our case, that march continued on to that inaugural stage 2 weeks later, and under that beautiful blue sky, while there were many great moments, including Lady Gaga boisterously belting out the Star-Spangled Banner and motioning to the flag and saying, and our flag is still here. The most memorable moment for me was Amanda Gorman, age 22, the youngest inaugural poet in the history of America, who addressed the nation with that beautiful poem she had written in just the 2 weeks before, in which she, in this crowning moment, said, you must find light in the never-ending shade. So that's what today is about to me. It's about that light. The light that you get when you talk to someone and you realize, maybe they're right, maybe I'm not quite right. The light that you get when you have a brand new idea. The light you're going to give the world with your degree when you do good. No matter where you go, what you do with it, the light you're going to shed with that. So what I want you to think about is the namesake of this school, Hubert Humphrey, when he said, the politics of happiness, the politics of purpose, and the politics of joy. So please go forward with purpose, with these great degrees, go forward with solutions, but most of all, go forward with joy and find that light in the never-ending shade. Thank you, everyone.